and it led to probably the most brilliant climax for any cricket team. It's one of those that you would want to come out on the right side of. I'd never been one to take a step back. So I remember having a conversation with Mick. He asked me, would I be interested? And I said, yeah, no problem. I tried not to overcomplicate it. I didn't try and become Chris Broad or Andrew Strauss or Sir Alistair Cook overnight. That wasn't what I was trying to do. And I remember having the conversation with Mick and Chris, I think, and I said, look, I'm not going to try and play differently.
Talk about the pace of change in the game around that time as well. Of course, it was only 2 or 3 years away from 2020 becoming a bigger thing. How did you find the adaptation to that?
I don't think anybody really knew what to expect. It'd been talked about probably for 18 months before it happened, and I think the players were sceptical to start with. We'd grown up on a diet of Sunday League, 55, 50 over cricket and Championship cricket. And growing up, all that mattered was playing for your county and then playing for England. And that was what my focus was. Gradually what became more evident was that T20 was going to open so many doors in terms of, we now look at franchise and various other opportunities that are out there. The skills that we tried to implement in T20 in 2003, 2004 wouldn't survive now, even in 50 over cricket, let alone T20 cricket. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Wished I'd probably taken it a little bit more seriously when it first started, and because nobody knew how long it was going to survive, and wished it had probably happened 5 or 6 years earlier. Because if I was 18 or 19, not 24, 25, I think I could have probably embraced it slightly differently.
Yeah, did you see that, I suppose, with players who did come in 4 or 5 years later looking at it differently?
Samit would be a good example.
Yeah.
Who came in 4 or 5 years later and saw it for exactly what it was, and has gone on to have a fantastic, arguably the best domestic T20 player there's been, not just for our club, but across our country. And he really embraced it, and I didn't, and wish that, like I say, it had been a few years earlier, but you can't always get what you want.
It was around that time that Mick Newell took up his position as Director of Cricket as well. How would you describe the impact he had on your career?
Well, he's been the one continuum. When I started with the Colts on a Saturday and the under-17s, he was working with the under-17s and the Colts team, so he probably knows me as well as anybody, and I'd include my wife in that. He's been ever present, he's been supportive, he's been challenging in a good way for me, and people would just assume that you've known somebody for such a long time, it's like a comfortable armchair. We don't have that type of relationship. We have a great relationship where I think there's trust, but it's not straightforward. And if walls had eyes and ears, we've had plenty of set twos. I've told him what I think. He's told me what he thinks more than enough times. But there's always a professional respect there. We always come back to what matters, and what matters is trying to be, for me to be the best I could be and the team to be as successful as we could be. But knowing when you work with someone that supports you and sees that you've got something is a nice feeling. But I've never ever felt like he's let me get completely comfortable. It's like he's there to keep me on my toes, and I like that. And the challenge is something I really embrace.
That relationship that's changed, though, I suppose, you've gone through.
Yeah, of course it has. Like he knew me as that gobby 17-year-old, and now I'm a dad 26 years later. It has to evolve. I've grown up, he's grown older. We've got a lot more success and failure to talk about, and how we go about trying to make sure that there's more success than failure now is the aim of what we do.
in this room we're in at the minute, there's pictures on the walls of your title triumphs of 2005 and 2010. If we look at 05 first, what do you think the secrets were to the success that year?
The mix of players, players playing well. The team had come a long way quite quickly. 2003, we'd started to progress. 2004, we'd start to play some really good cricket. Stephen Fleming joined in 2005, which was a catalyst for a different style of leadership on the field. He would very much leave Mick to do the off-field stuff, along with Wayne Noon, who were an excellent combination, and Stephen would take care of the on-field stuff. And getting players playing well, the three of them managed to do that really, really well. And we played some excellent cricket across that season, and we were in a really good place to finish that. We deservedly won that championship. You know, it was a time when Shane Warne's Hampshire were really competitive, two very different looking teams, but we were delighted to come out on top.
What was it like being part of that bowling unit as well, the likes of Sidebottom, Harris,
Yeah,
Smith?
they were strong. I didn't have a great season. Personally, I was struggling. Confidence. I'd come back from a winter tour with England A, and I'd lost faith in myself a little bit. I needed to do some work, and because it was on the eve of the season, I didn't have the time necessarily that I needed to put in the work to then be in. You know, the captain and the coaching team put some faith in me, and I started the season, and I think I made 100 in the first game of the season at Lords and played great, but I wasn't bowling well, and I knew that, and they knew that. But I think my runs at that point kept me in the team, which was nice, and it gave me a little bit of time, but quite quickly it was evident that the team needed another bowler, so I had to step out, which was fine. Again, looking back, it was one of those decisions that had to be made. A frustrating time, but I was still delighted that the team went on to have the success it had. It thoroughly deserved it. Ryan Sidebottom, Greg Smith, you know, the types of bowlers that we had at that time were brilliant. So I didn't have any complaints about that.
You mentioned run scoring as well, and that was a big part of your contribution in 2010 as well, a very different kind of title triumph. What are your main memories of that year? Well,
we got on a bit of a journey. Like I said, I'd had to try and evolve a little bit as a player after 2005. I'd made a conscious effort that if I was going to continue playing for Nottinghamshire and playing the game, my batting was going to be a massive part of that. I'd managed to get my confidence back with my bowling, but my batting then became more important as time went on. In 2010, it was a very different looking squad to the one in 2005. Chris had taken over as captain, similar in lots of ways to Stephen Fleming, but also different in his own mind, and his own convictions were subtly different. And we had a really good start to that season. We played on some excellent early season pitches. Hashim Amla was in the team, and he was playing really, really well. It was probably at the peak of his powers then, from a 4-day point of view. He played some breathtaking innings on some difficult pitches, and I managed to score a lot of runs, some significant runs at that time of year, to get us into some winning positions. And we were in a good place as the season sort of started to then break up. Naturally, T20 came along, and then as the season went on, it got a lot more concertinaed. Teams got close. Somerset got a lot closer to us, and it led to probably the most brilliant climax for any cricket team. It's one of those that you would want to come out on the right side of, and finishing at Old Trafford how we did was very, very special.
How did your move to opening come about in that season?
We'd struggled at the top of the order as the season had gone on, and I think we were looking for some balance. And thankfully, I'd been playing well. I'd scored some runs. I'd batted quite a lot against the second new ball, and shown that I could score. Obviously, batting against the second new ball is different to batting against the first new ball. Bowlers are fresh. There's no runs on the board, etc. So I was very much looking. I think the team were looking for someone to go out there and sort of lead the team off a little bit. And, I'd never been one to take a step back. So I remember having a conversation with Mick. He asked me, would I be interested? And I said, yeah, no problem. And then I think it was we played Yorkshire. It was the first game I opened the batting out here. And we got bowled out cheaply on the first morning. I played the most horrendous shot you've ever seen. And I walked into the changing room and thought, what am I doing? What have I just done? I was 31 years of age. I was thinking I was just starting to get in control of my emotions, and played the most horrendous shot to about the 5th ball of the day. And I thought, oh no, I don't need that door to open now and to be stood there waving me into the office. But thankfully, albeit we lost that game, but we played much better, and I got some runs in the second innings and felt much more comfortable in that position. And like I say, we didn't play lots of really good cricket in that last month, but we did enough. And I certainly felt as though we got what we deserved.
Yeah. How much pride did you take from that, being able to adapt to that different role when required, if you like?
Yeah, a lot. I tried not to overcomplicate it. I didn't try and become Chris Broad or Andrew Strauss or Sir Alistair Cook overnight. That wasn't what I was trying to do. And I remember having the conversation with Mick and Chris, I think, and I said, look, I'm not going to try and play differently. I've been playing the same way for a very, very long time. It's served me well. And they were like, okay, let's, go on, give it a go. We'll give you a couple of games and we'll see how it gets on. And I didn't, look, I don't think I was a great opening batsman. I wasn't. I made myself effective in certain moments, and hopefully that was for the benefit of the team.